Let's take a couple of minutes and we'll walk through the audio settings on Pioneer's AVH-280BT. So from the USB source, or for any source, we're going to go to the gears here, and we're going to go down to the speaker, which is our audio settings. The first thing we see is the graphic EQ, and for more information about the graphic EQ, its settings, and making adjustments, be sure to check out the graphic EQ video. Let's go back up. The next thing we see here is rear speaker and pre-out. Notice those are both grayed out. Now to make adjustments there, we have to turn the head unit off. So let's go out to our home screen, and here's the off. We'll choose to switch the audio system off. We'll go back into the gears here and to the speaker, which is our audio settings. And here you can see rear speaker and pre-out are now active settings. Here we can change the rear speaker output from full range to subwoofer output. For right now, let's keep it as full range. And here we can change the rear RCA output from subwoofer output to full range rear output. For right now, we're going to set that up as subwoofer output. And we need that set up as subwoofer output if we are going to have subwoofer controls built into the head unit. So once those settings are done, we're going to go back out and choose a source. We'll go back to the USB source, and we'll touch the gears. And back to the audio settings. Next up, we see our fader and balance control. Now note, we have fader and balance here. If on your rear speaker settings you have chosen subwoofer output, you'll see that the fader control here goes away and it's only balance. But we have the rear speakers set up as full range, so we have fader and balance control. We'll open that and we can use the buttons here to adjust the fade front to rear and the balance right to left. You can also touch on the screen to move that system around. Once you're done making those adjustments, we'll go back up. Next up, we see our loudness control. Right now, loudness is switched on to its low setting. We could also choose mid or high, or if you want, you can switch the loudness setting off. Choose the one that works best for you, and we'll go back up. Let's roll down now to the next page, and we see our source level adjuster. Let's open that one. Here, source level adjuster works for each individual source, and if you'll remember, we were on the USB source. So here, we can make the USB source appear to be a little bit louder or a little bit quieter as compared to FM. Now this works for each source so that when I switch between sources, USB, Bluetooth audio, and AM/FM, when we switch between them, there's not a big jump in the volume. And so we'll make the USB just a little bit louder as compared to FM, and then when we switch between sources, it should be relatively even. Okay, we'll go back up. Remember, if you were on the AM/FM source, the source level adjuster is grayed out because there's no adjustment to make there from the AM/FM source. Next up, we see our bass booster. Here, we can add a little more bottom into the system if we want, up to about a +6, or take it back down to 0. We'll go back up. Next up is our high pass filter, and right now the high pass filter is switched off. Let's switch that on and crossed over at 50 Hertz, or we can cross it over up to about 125 Hertz. For right now, we'll leave the high pass filter on and crossed over at 80 Hertz, and we'll go back up. Then we have our subwoofer settings. Right now the subwoofer is switched off. We'll switch it on, and when we do that, the subwoofer settings now become an active setting. We can choose that. First thing we see is our phase for the subwoofer, normal or reverse phase. Be sure to check both. One may sound better than the other in your vehicle. Here we can boost or cut the subwoofer output, and here we can change the crossover frequency for the subwoofer. We'll set that also at 80 Hertz, and we'll boost it up just a bit. All right, once we're done making those settings, we can hit the X to escape.